Hello, artists, and welcome to week 2, semester 2 of art class. This is going to be for my painting students. If you guys are in my drawing class, you're going to go ahead and hop over to semester 2, week 2 for drawing. To start this week, I'm going to run through real quick with your guys' packet. We are going to talk about our assignment. We're going to watch a video, and then I'm going to give you your bell work. So go ahead and just stick this out as best you can, and we'll see how we can get through this. Okay, to begin, this week's packet is going to be your first painting project. I hope you all have your painting supplies. You will need watercolor paper, watercolor paint, and paint brushes, and a pencil so that you guys can sketch out your drawings before you start to paint. If you haven't gotten your supplies yet, please go ahead and email me and let me know, and we can work out how we can make some modifications to your assignment for this week. Okay, so to begin, if you open your packets, you're going to see your cover page on the front, and the very next page is going to be vocabulary, watercolor notes, and a few tips. So to begin, we'll start by going over our vocab. Our first vocabulary word is watercolor. This is the paint we are going to be working with pretty much the entire time while you guys are in my class. So our definition for watercolor is the art of painting with watercolors, especially using a technique of producing paler colors by diluting water with water rather than adding white. So in watercolor, we don't have white paint. We make our colors lighter by adding more water. Our next vocabulary term would be still life. Still life is a work of art composed mostly of inanimate objects. It's going to be, your painting's basically going to have pictures of food or flowers. Oftentimes people will paint things like dead animals, plants, rocks, shells, and even things that are man-made like wine glasses, books, vases, jewelry, coins, pipes. Any of this stuff can be included in your still life. Our next term is charging. This is a technique that involves mixing 2 or more colors directly on the paper instead of pre-mixing them on the palette. So you'll take, let's say you're trying to get purple, you'll take a little bit of the red and you'll take a little bit of the blue and you'll mix them together on the paper rather than trying to pre-mix the color in a palette. That is known as charging. And our last vocabulary word for this week is lifting paint. This is a technique for removing paint from the surface of the brush. You either use a paper towel or tissue. You can use it to correct mistakes. You can use it to make textures in your painting. You can use it to create highlights or change the values in your painting as well. To run through a few tips with you guys, I'm not going to read them all, but to start, we want to, when we're painting, always make sure we're working from our light to dark colors. It's easier to correct if you start with a light color and you work your way to dark. For our water to paint ratio, here's your next tip. Too much water will result in colors that are too light. So it's important that when you are painting and you want one color to sort of be the same, mix enough of that color in the start. A good rule of thumb is to always mix more paint than you think you're going to need. So that if you run out of that color, it won't be as hard to try to get the same color when you try to mix that same shade again. Now, as you move on, you're going to find your notes in your packet will go on to say understanding watercolor. In these notes, it's going to really quickly run through different techniques, how to make textures inside of your artwork. You can use everything from tape to, you can draw on your paper with crayon and the paint won't stick. You can use rice to absorb the paint or salt. plastic or cling wrap. You can use different washes, but this is going to quickly and easily really show you a bunch of different techniques that you can use to make your artwork unique. And then finally, it's going to give us a run through of our assignment. So for this week, you guys are going to be making a still life. You need to have a minimum of 3 items, but no more than 5. You're going to have to draw and paint them, and you're going to set it up yourself. In the packet, it's going to give you really easy directions on how to set up your still life subjects and how you're going to want to paint them. Now, in this video that I'm about to show you guys, we are going to watch this guy. His name is Chris Petrie.
Hi, welcome everyone. This is Chris, and I thank you for stopping by in another fun video. We're going to have a good time tonight. Some still life items. Let's do an apple, tomato, maybe a jar. Let's just have some fun. Enjoy the carefree nature of watercolor. We can just at any time break out a nice pencil and some paint and a paintbrush and just do a quick, simple practice composition to sharpen our skills. And I think that's a lot of what watercolor and art is just practicing those skills over and over, drawing, seeing things correctly, angles, tonal values, to see how things look as far as light and shade, where the shadows are falling on objects, and the light is being is appearing onto our objects in the shadows as well. When we have a nice strong source of light. Here in this picture, I'll start off with a nice insignia of light. So I have a picture of a small insignia of a light. So this way I know when I'm doing my composition here, the light's going to be coming from this side of the picture, striking this side of the objects, and then the shadows will be on the right-hand side. And I think we'll do maybe just a nice, simple, maybe an apple. We'll start off with maybe a green apple. So I want to make sure
So he's going to do a quick sketch of his subjects. We're going to go ahead and skip through him sketching them out. You guys are going to be sketching your own objects. Just know when you are sketching your objects that you are going to be kind of mostly doing the rough outline of your objects. When using watercolors, it erases a lot of the smaller details. So you don't need to get every word written on something or every texture in a shoelace. You can be a little more laid back with the extreme details of your objects. So we're going to go ahead and jump forward in this video to where he's got his drawings more or less drawn out for us. And he'll begin the painting.
We're ready here. We have our small round brush. This is like a number 6 Kolinsky Sable round brush. Decent point on there. And we'll just go in some simple colors. Maybe we'll go with a nice yellow for the green apple. So I'll use some olive green and some cadmium lemon. And here I'm going to try to leave that shadow there. I mean that light. I'm going to try to leave those touches of light on the top.
So he's very carefully blurring the lines of his highlights on the apple.
interest here on this side. Maybe a little change in tonal value.
And notice he began with his lighter color and he's going in and adding the darker colors and the different shades on top of it.
With some French ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, and a touch of raw sienna. Touch our shadow in quickly. Clean with my brush quick with some water, and I get some more raw sienna. Make the shadow a little lighter. The further away the shadow is from the object, it tends to be a little lighter. Blot up a little bit of the paint. Okay, now we can go on to our chart, and we'll do a nice, add a little bit of maybe some purple and blue, cobalt blue and mineral violet. That's our blue and purple here.
Now he has a lot of different colors in his palette. If you guys bought a basic palette, that's okay. You can mix a lot of these colors, even if you don't know their fancy names. That's okay. You can go ahead and just try to mix the colors you'll see in your objects at home.
Here. And maybe we'll want to some of the cadmium orange and cadmium lemon. And as you can see, I'm following that pencil line somewhat. I'm trying to.
Now this technique that he's using, where he's putting the
splashing just to loosen it up a little here.
Where he's putting the paints directly onto the paper, onto the dry paper, is called wet on dry. He is not putting water down before he starts his painting, and that's a good technique to use.
And to pick up that highlight over here a little better, we'll put some of the background in.
Another technique that people use is called wet on wet, and it's when you put water on the paper first and then put your paints on top of it.
And then maybe some cadmium orange. And just sort of work it out nice and easily here, fun, free, no big deal. Work it out into the background a little bit. And we'll do some more background here. Same colors, cobalt blue, mineral violet. Maybe I'll go in with some alizarin crimson, just add a little nice touch of red. And I would add this in different areas and make sure I kind of mix it around the painting. I just don't want to add one color in one small area. I think it's important to harmonize the painting, keep everything harmonized so that everything is looking similar throughout the painting. That might be a little bit of a issue sometimes if you're going back into add colors, other places you've been painting in. So you might want to wait till it dries, and then that sometimes can be a problem. I have problems with that occasionally with going into a section that's a little bit wet from another wash. So always be careful where you're painting. Just kind of keep in your mind what's wet, what's dry, and you'll be okay.
Also see how as the color dries, as the paint dries, the color changes slightly.
Okay, we've got another minute left here. Let's zip that tomato in quick. Okay, for variety, I will add some cadmium red, alizarin crimson, a touch of cobalt blue over here on this side for the shadow side, cobalt blue and cobalt blue and raw sienna for the shadow. Okay, that's about it. We'll see you next time. Have fun.
Okay, so that was just a real quick demonstration of kind of what I expect of you guys in your still life. You'll be setting up your own still life and painting what you see. We're going to go ahead now and move over to our bell work. So for our bell work, we have you painted before? If so, what paints have you used? And if you haven't, why? Why haven't you painted before? Is it something that just never interested you? Is it something that you didn't have access to? Is it something you've always wanted to try, but maybe were nervous about trying it? Go ahead and explain your answer to me in 3 to 5 sentences. And you guys can go ahead and take a picture of that and send it to me in email, in text, on Remind. Just try to have it turned in by Friday. That is going to do it for our packets this week. Your guys' still life projects will be due next Wednesday. I hope you all enjoy your 3-day weekend, and let's get back to taking care of classes. You all have a great day and take care.